As a teacher, one of the hardest things that frustrated me all the time was grading, keeping up with grading. Am I the only one? Listen, we will have stacks of papers. We will collect papers, and with good intentions, we are going to grade them so that we have grades for the grade book. But if you're like me, you have that stack of papers that ends up on your desk and eventually ends up in file 13, also known as the trash. Because let's face it, grading is tedious, grading is daunting, and we've got so many other things on our plate. We just don't have time to grade every single assignment. In today's video, I'm going to share with you some tips for making grading simple in your classroom. Stay tuned. What's kicking, educational rock stars? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Farah from Farah Henley Education, where I strive to bring you actionable tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life easier and more manageable so that you can spend more time outside the classroom doing what matters, spending time with your family and taking care of yourself. Now, if this is your first time joining me here on the channel, welcome. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you get notified when I go live or upload a new video here on the channel. Now, I do want to invite you to stick around to the end because I'm going to share with you a way for you to get one of the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight about our topic. I'm going to share with you a way that you can get something that is going to make your life so much easier, and it's super fabulous, and I cannot wait to share that with you. We are going to be talking about one of my biggest frustrations every single year, and that was grading papers. Let me know in the comments if you just absolutely hate grading, if you hate keeping up with it, because let's face it, listen, we have stacks of paper that will end up on our desk, and just stacks and stacks and stacks of paper, and until you get to a point where there's so many there that you look at them and you think, you know what, I'm going to file these in file 13, which is the trash, because you don't have time to keep up with it all. And listen, it happened to me too. And I can remember, anybody got a teacher bag that they would put all the papers in, and you actually take them home with the best of intentions to actually get them graded. And you just carry them back and forth to school multiple times because they never actually get graded. I remember one year, I can't even say it was 1 year, it was multiple years, where I would go to clean out my teacher bag, and I would find papers that were like from the first grading period, and I'm cleaning out my bag and it's like the third grading period. And I've still got stacks of papers from the first grading period that I never actually got graded. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorite tips tonight. That is going to help make grading so much simpler for you. And you're going to take this and you're going to be like, wow, okay. I'm going to give you permission. Sometimes we just, as teachers, we just need permission from another teacher that if we do some of these things, maybe you've heard of them already, but sometimes you just need permission from another teacher that if we do these don't make you a bad teacher. It doesn't make you a bad teacher at all. In fact, I want you to be able to get the things done you need to do in your classroom, but not have to lug all of that stuff home with you. So let's go ahead and dive in to the tips for making grading simple in your classroom. Now, the first tip that I want to share with you may seem like it may seem like a no-brainer, and really it kind of, you're already doing it and you may not even realize it, because if you're like me and you had stacks of papers that ended up in file 13, then you were already doing it. But that is, don't grade everything. You don't have to grade every single thing that your students do. Every single worksheet, every single activity, every single paper that your students do, you don't have to put a grade on it. You don't even necessarily have to look over it. And I'm not saying that you need to give your students busy work, but you don't have time to grade every single thing they do in the classroom. So don't grade everything. Pick and choose what you are going to grade. And if your school has requirements on things that you have to take grades on, then focus on those things that you have to take grades on. But you don't have to grade every single assignment that they do. My students, we used interactive notebooks in my classroom. I didn't grade every single interactive notebook activity that I did. I didn't have time for all of that. So I made sure that if it was a specific skill that I needed to take a grade on because I needed some sort of grade for that skill, then I would grade that particular activity. But I didn't grade every single interactive notebook activity that they did. The same goes for center work. I did not grade all of their center work. There were worksheets from centers that they had to do. I did not grade those. I would pick and choose which ones, if any, that I was going to grade, and those were the ones that I pulled. Now, again, I told you at the end, I'm going to share with something with you, a way that you can get something that's going to help you with the things that you do choose to grade. So be sure and stick around until the end. Sometimes we just need somebody to tell us it's okay not to grade something that your students do. So don't grade everything. Now, tip number 2 that I want to share with you is divide and conquer. And I saw somebody leave a comment that they do this, and this is teach your students how to grade. Teach your students how to grade their own work. Now, whether they're going to grade their own work or they're going to switch papers, and I don't really like the whole idea of switching papers and grading each other's papers. In fact, we did that so much whenever I was young and in school. We always graded each other's papers, but I don't recommend doing that these days because of privacy reasons. But teach your students how to grade their own work. This is a great opportunity for you to talk with your student about being honest, and that it's okay to make mistakes, and we're gonna make mistakes. And if you got so many wrong, it's fine. Now, one of the things that I did not do when it came to grading their own papers, if it was something that they needed to grade, I did not have them put their own grade on the paper. I would have them mark them wrong or right, and then I would collect them, and then I would go through, and I was able to quickly see how many they got wrong and put a grade on something if it was something that I needed to grade. Sometimes we did this and we were just checking our work. We weren't even putting a grade on it. And that's a great way to help train them how to actually grade their work, is just do it for the fact that you're going to be checking their work and for corrections if you need them to make corrections on something. I love to do this for things like spelling tests. I love to do this for things like fact tests. Anything where I could quickly have them go through and just mark them wrong if they got them wrong, and then I would collect the papers and I could count up how many they got wrong and so forth. But train your students, divide and conquer, let them help you do some of the work, and it is going to keep you from having to take those papers home. But one of the things I'm going to share with you at the end today is going to help you even with collecting those papers back, getting those grades, and getting them into your grade book. So make sure you stick around for that. Now, tip number 3 is going to help you with things like writing, and that is to have a specific focus. Listen, when we have our students write a piece of a work for us, maybe whether it's a paragraph or it's just a few sentences, or maybe they're having to write a full essay, whatever the case may be, if you take the time to grade for punctuation, capitalization, spelling, grammar usage, if you take time to grade all of that in one sitting with every single piece of writing that your students do, you are never going to stop grading their writing. And this doesn't have to just focus on writing either. This could be applied to really any of the subjects. But focus on one skill that you're grading that particular piece for, and grade for that one skill. Maybe it's a specific standard that you're grading for. A lot of schools have gone to some standards-based grading where they have something that they have to do, an assignment they have to do, and they're looking for that specific standard. And maybe they missed some things with regard to another standard, but that's not the standard or the skill that we're grading on this particular assignment. So focus on just one skill or one standard, and then grade for that. This is going to cut so much time down when you're grading things like writing, because now if I'm just grading on punctuation, I'm gonna grade on punctuation. It's also gonna help your students when you give that assignment back to them and you're giving feedback to them. They're not looking at a whole bunch of marks on their paper. They're only looking at those specific things that they need to focus on, and it's really gonna stick out. Hey, I'm not putting a period where it's supposed to be, or I'm not using commas where they're supposed to be, or I'm not using the correct capitalization for things. just focus on one skill when you are grading. So tip number 4 is use grading lists. And what do I mean by grading lists? Well, you might see something back here on the cabinet behind me, and I'm going to turn around and go ahead and grab this so that I can show you what I mean. These grading lists are not something that I invented, first of all. My sweet friend, Kristen, from Easy Teaching Tools, I learned this idea from her. And I am going to share with you how you can get a hold of some of these at the end of our chat tonight. But I created some also for something else that I'll share with you as well. But basically, it is a list, and you go through and you make these strips of paper like this, and I've just got them on different colors of paper. And I'll explain to you how I use the different colors of paper here in just a moment. But basically, you make a grading list, and it's the student numbers. My students always had a number in my classroom, and their student numbers were down one side. Their names were on the list as well, and then there was a column for me to write their grade. Now, whether it be an actual number grade, or if it was just me checking off that they actually turned something in, because sometimes we took a grade if they just turned it in. But whatever, up at the top, I created these specific ones, but I was using them for center work, because as I teach in Learning Centers Made Easy, whenever your students do their center work, I don't grade all of their center work, but there might be a time that you need to take one of the activities from your centers to take a grade on. Well, I could collect all of the exit sheets, I could stick this on it, and it basically would look like this. So if I had this like this, I would collect all of the worksheets, and I would stick this on the front of the stack, and I would put a paper clip. And now I have a class list. I can very quickly go through, check the papers, and I can write all of the grades. I can take this and stick it in my grade book, and I can give these back to the students, and I'm not having to keep a bunch of papers with me. I've just got my little slips of paper. There's also a place to write what the skill was, what the date was, and so forth. Now, my friend Kristen has developed this same idea. These that I made were specifically for centers, but she also has class lists that she's created that you can use with any assignment, and they're amazing. And I'm going to share with you at the end how you can go over and check those out. Now, let me kind of explain how I use the ones for centers, because this is going to blow your mind. So if you are a member of my Learning Centers Made Easy membership, then you know that our groups have colors. And one of the things that I love is being able to color code anything and everything when it comes to the different groups, and whether it be their reading groups or their math groups. So I would print these lists out on the color paper that is their group. And then I would collect them and I would keep them in groups, because then when I'm handing back center work for either corrections, or I'm handing it back for them to put into their folder to show that they've completed it or whatever, I knew exactly which box they went in, and I didn't have to go through, and I didn't have to look at the name and go, okay, where do they go? What group are they in, or whatever. I knew that all the papers in this stack were going to be the green group, so I could stick them in the green groups box. All of the papers that had the blue paper were going to be the blue group. So, and the thing I loved about these is I made mine for centers. I made them editable. Kristen has also made hers editable as well, so you can add your class list. You go in and make them every single year, and you can make your class lists every single year. Now, at the end, I'm going to drop a link up in the description when we're done. I'm going to drop a link down in the description below so that you can grab these for your classroom. If you are in the Learning Centers Made Easy program, you'll be able to go and check inside your members area, and you're going to find these. And then I'm also going to drop a link to Kristen's. She sells those in her store over at Easy Teaching Tools, so you'll be able to grab those as well. But if you are in the Learning Centers Made Easy program, then these will be in your members area later tonight. All of these tips are going to save you time, but tip number 5, I think, is going to save you the most time, and that is pick a day. Pick a day that is going to be your grading day, and then set a timer. Set a timer. Some of you might call this batching. Some of you might call it, there's a specific principle or theory that goes with this. But pick a day that is going to be your grading day and do all of your grading on that day after school. And then set a timer. Set that timer for 25 minutes, and you're going to grade for 25 minutes. You're going to get up, you're going to walk around for 5, and you're going to come back to it. If you are putting all these other tips into place, when you get to that grading day and you sit down to start doing your grading, you're going to see that grading is going to go by so fast that you're going to be able to get it all done in that allotted time, and you're going to be able to work in chunks of time and get it done before you leave to go home. Then the other great thing about that is if you're using either Kristen's grading lists or the ones for centers that you'll get in your membership, if you're using either one of those, you can immediately hand the papers back or do whatever if you have somebody that actually passes them out to your students, you can give those papers back and get them off your desk, and these will be all that's left inside your grade book, so that if you have to enter them digitally into your grade book, maybe you have a digital grade book or a paper grade book, you're not having to deal with a bunch of papers that are overflowing on your desk. Pick a time, pick a day, and then use a timer to make sure that you get your grading done. And again, don't grade everything. Pick a specific skill, use those grading lists, put all these other tips into place, and it is going to make your grading day go by so much faster. This last tip that I'm going to share with you is something that I think more students need, and it doesn't need to be just red marks or purple marks or whatever all over their paper. And this is going to cut down some of your grading time as well. If you are that teacher who wants to put something on every assignment that they do, then I'm going to recommend that you use what's called the Glow and Grow. There is nothing wrong with you looking over a paper and giving them feedback on that paper rather than grading it. And a way to do this is to give them a glow and grow. Give them one comment or one thing that they did really, really well, and then one thing that they really, really need to work on. I've used this so many times in center work that I can't even count, because like I said, I don't grade all of those papers that they do every single week in centers. Guys, my students were completing up to 8 centers a week. That would be, and if I had 20 students, that's 160 papers to grade. Guys, did I do the math right? I don't have time for that. So I would do Glow and Grow, and I did them sporadically. I did them randomly. I didn't do them for every single student. But what I tried to do is I would use one of these lists, and I would go through and I would put the week on it, and I would say, okay, this week during centers, I want to give every student at least one Glow and Grow. And I would just check off by their name when their Glow and Grow had been done. And that meant I would pick one of their papers, I would do a Glow and Grow on it, and I would give it back to them. This is a time when you can use those stickers, you can use those fun stamps that you have, because who has time to sit and be like the postal service and just stamping papers till the cows come home? None of us have time to do that. So use the Glow and Grow to check work, but also make it random, but make sure that every student gets a Glow and Grow at least during the week. Now, if you're looking for more tips, strategies, and simple systems to take back into your classroom to make your teacher life easier, check out the videos on your screen. Thanks for watching, and keep being an educational rock star.